And welcome, everybody, to another glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes. We are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. Had a couple dreary days, but everything's working all right out here in Southern California. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's good to get back on here after another Raiders win and break it down, and as we get closer to the beginning of the regular season.
It's getting closer every week, and you can kind of feel that. I'm kind of happy that it's a little bit deeper in February, in the September. It makes the season feel a little bit longer. The anticipation is coming for that Monday night opener against the Rams, and it's Lamar Jackson is as cocky as ever. He's ready to go. He said nobody can stop me. So we'll see what the Raiders have had a whole year to see what they can do against him. In the upcoming opener this year. Miami, Florida, Brooklyn, New York, Seattle, Washington, Norwalk, Connecticut, 858-299-5592 is text line. You can reach that Twitter at RHOLM22 and our TPOW podcast. So let's just roll right into it here. And this is the part of the show, kind of like a first and 10 part of the show. We'll go 10 minutes real quick on this subject. And that's the KJ Wright situation. You're a team, you have a team like the Raiders, you know that it's gonna be hard to convince people to come. So you have a guy in Gus Bradley who can tell people like KJ Wright, hey, this is just like when I started out in Seattle. This is just like, he can kind of spit those lines to him, and it ends up being, something where he says, hey, you know what, I'll consider coming to the Raiders. Like you said in our text chat, like you go ahead and you move money around to make it happen. Like, I mean, like you make it happen. You can't sit there and just let a guy of his level go walk out the door, especially when you have a situation where now you're in need. Now the price just went up. It's not, when you had him in the building, you just sign him and you take care of business there. What are your thoughts about how the Raiders handle that situation? Because now the Ravens, who lost the linebacker as well, are now looking for his services, and they could be facing him in the opener at Allegiant Stadium.
Oh, definitely. The Seahawks, Ravens, and Raiders, I believe he ends up with one of those three teams. If I'm KJ Wright, he's probably looking at a one-year deal at this point. I don't think anyone's offering him a two-year contract. He needs to go somewhere he's familiar with. He's been a 4-3 linebacker the whole time, his whole career in the NFL. If he goes to Baltimore, he's going to have to learn a 3-4. He's going to be playing more inside, and he's not going to have the ability to come off the edge or be an edge setter, which is what he's normally done as a Sam linebacker in this cover 3 scheme. Vic Tafer came out today. He didn't report this, but it was in one of his mailbags. If you read it, that KJ Wright's looking for $7 million a year, which is basically what he made the last couple of years. So I understand the hesitation on the club's part to get to $7 million on a one-year deal, but there's ways to structure that with incentives. But it's really easy. I know that I tweeted about Jalen Richard. You don't have to cut Jalen Richard to create cap room. You can easily add a voidable year to Derek Carr's contract, convert some of his base salary into a signing bonus, spread it out over 3 years. And then, boom, you have cap space. You can do it with any player you want to extend. If they love Yannick Ngakoue so much, he's on a 2-year deal. Convert some of his money convert his base salary into a signing bonus. But on that end, Mark Davis needs to have the cash. He's got to have, $10 million on cash to hand a check over to whoever he wants to convert salary into a signing bonus. Then he's got to have another check to hand over to KJ Wright. So I don't know if money comes into play here, but there are creative ways, easy ways for the Raiders to get $7 million in cap space if they really want this player, but they need him right now. Yeah. If the season started next week, you're going up against Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Miami, 3 games that you have to be in contention and hopefully win 2 out of the 3. Who are you playing at linebacker? You're running Corey Littleton and hopefully Tanner Muse, Diablo. Who's the other guy? Because Kwiatkowski's hurt. They just put Darren Lee on IR. Javen White most likely is going to end up on IR because that knee injury looked pretty brutal. I don't even feel comfortable with Muse as one of the three right now, let alone him being the second guy and then figuring out who the third. And you can't line up in the nickel against Baltimore. They're just going to go 12 and 13 personnel with three tight ends and run it down your throat.
Yeah, no question about it. You desperately need to go out there and sign somebody. And Mark Barron ain't cutting it. Like Mark Barron is not. Mark Barron is not cutting it at all. He is not the guy that you want in these critical situations where, listen, you said it, two out of three. You have, this is not an easy start. Tua looks a little bit more comfortable this time around. We'll see when the real bullets fly. If Tua is really going to be a solid NFL quarterback, but you got to be ready for these teams in the AFC North, because Pittsburgh early on. Say what you want about Ben later in the season, but early on, summertime, warm time in Pittsburgh right now. The arm is probably feeling really good. It's not all hurt up. Whatever, he looks like he is slinging the ball a little bit. Najee Harris is going to be a force. It looks like they're going to probably force feed the football to him. So you need some quality linebacker play. And I think maybe the Raiders thought, hey, we're feeling pretty good, but that strength became a potential strength, maybe become a weakness here if they can't get somebody signed.
The Mark Barron one's interesting because what that leads me to believe is they see Mark Barron as a nickel linebacker. He's not going to play the Mike. He's not going to play the Sam. He's basically just a nickel linebacker at this point. It tells me that they think they're going to be okay week one with probably put Kwiatkowski at middle linebacker, assuming he's back, use the strong side, Littleton at weak. But it tells me they don't want to put Kwiatkowski or Muse on the field in the nickel. And I don't blame them with Muse. But it tells me they don't like Kwiatkowski in the nickel because why else would they be targeting a nickel linebacker right now? Yeah. You could move John Abram down there if you need to. Diablo hasn't practiced, but there's ways to get creative. You can go to a dime instead of a nickel when you need to match up. They have plenty of pieces to do that with. But this really tells me that Kwiatkowski's basically going to be in base defense if he's on the field, and we won't see him much in nickel.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. It's all about covering. It's about obviously keeping him under control in that first game. It's about not letting him run all over the place. He's gonna break your heart on some plays. It's just gonna happen. I mean, he's Lamar Jackson for a reason. The issue that you have is like, they're hurt at wide receiver as well. So you might get a little bit of a break there, but although there is a lot of time before the first game, who's covering those tight ends? I mean, that's his bread and butter. Like I think a couple of shows ago, I showed you his little pass chart, and everything is a cluster in the middle of the field to those tight ends. So I mean, that's going to be a big part of stopping this Raven team. And I don't see Greg Roman as a guy who is a mastermind offensive, but he is going to run what he runs, and it's either going to work or not going to work. And when they take their shots, got to be ready for them over the top. And looks like that's a big thing for Trayvon Morag to make sure you're over the top when you should be, because when those shots come to Hollywood Brown, they could be deadly.
Oh, definitely. It'll be interesting to see what defense the Raiders in this first week, or if they stay in the nickel. Are we going to see a lot of cover three, where they're going to try to match up in the middle of the field, or are they going to go more cover four, where you can use Morag and match them up in man coverage and just try to take the deep stuff and force Lamar to throw it underneath? I think they just need to back the middle of the field and make it throw the number out, throw it outside the numbers. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting week. Obviously, personnel matchups right now on defense, Raiders are lacking a linebacker and they're young in the secondary. So they're going to have to stop the run and figure out how to cover tight ends and force the ball outside, which I think you're going to get a lot more cover three and them throw it in the flat and just rally and tackle.
Yeah, we're saying have looked like they've done a good job with so far in the preseason. That takes us out of the 1st and 10 and to the preseason game against the Rams. I thought that this whole thing where we're playing Peterman the whole game, I really don't have a problem with it at this point now. I don't see, and you'll probably see it when we get later in the show when we do, and I do my version of the Raiders 53-man roster. We're gonna do a 53-man roster. What we think the Raiders should do. Not what John Gruden will do, because I think we know what John Gruden is going to do. This is some of these positions, but for me, I don't really, I feel like he's just as effective running the football and moving the chains as Mariota. Mariota might have that burst, but and I think Peterman does need to learn how to slide, because he is going to die on the field if he does not careful. But a couple of times with the read option, he took it and went to the outside. There are some. I mean, he put some touch under the ball on that sluggo down the left sideline. I mean, he's been pretty good. I thought that the little stick 9 route he threw to DJ Turner, who I think it looks like pure slot. I mean, he looks really good in that position as well. Also a good kickoff and punt returner. It's hard to really kind of look at this team and look at these games and say, hey, I'm watching Leatherwood. I'm watching certain people as far as this goes. I like what I saw as far as offensive line, because 70 and 76, like I could see Drake and Josh Jacobs just drooling on the sidelines as far as this goes. I mean, they really should be able to run the football on that side pretty well.
Yeah, when we get to the 53, I think we're going to differ at the quarterback position, but we'll save that talk for when we get there. Takeaways from the game, clearly, the run game in the first quarter behind Leatherwood and Simpson, those guys are opening up huge holes. Now, granted, we didn't see 99 out there for the Rams, and they didn't run on starters out there, but it's still good to see those guys moving bodies, and hopefully the Raiders can get that going early in the season, because they're going to have to run the football against some of those teams. My biggest takeaway, too, clearly the Raiders were not in a position where they were going to run starters out there. They only ran 4 guys out that I think are starters. It's interesting that Morig and Abram are getting run on both the first 2 games as the starting safeties. I think that's more just learning how to communicate out there on the field. Gus Bradley trying to get those guys experience in the system. I was concerned that Mr. Nate Hobbs, the guy over my shoulder here who had a big game, was on the field late into the fourth quarter. I was holding my breath there. Darius Philon was in on the last drive. I was holding my breath there. Like, the last thing the Raiders need to do is lose some of these depth pieces in a meaningless preseason game. I'll go as far as I think we're not going to see any of these guys against the 49ers. I know it's supposed to be the dress rehearsal or whatever, but if John Gruden's not going to run these guys out there. And the biggest takeaway for me is what we've been talking about for the last 3 months. The depth at offensive tackle on this team is terrible. If there's an injury to Colton Miller or Alex Leatherwood right now, the Raiders are in big trouble as far as offensively trying to move the ball and staying with some of the stuff that they want to do offensively. They're going to have to upgrade the backup tackle position here pretty quickly.
You sure about that? Because, I mean, they have the best swing tackle in football. That's the thing. Listen, it's true. I don't know how you like not. I mean, listen, the left tackles aren't they're not working at 7-Eleven. You're not gonna find somebody who fits that build over there. So I get it. But they do have a hole there. A hole that Sam Young, even if he was here, would not be able to. He would last 2 quarters, and do his thing where he just doesn't play the rest of the game. So that's maybe where they could have over the last couple of years. I mean, to get a developmental tackle would have been a nice thing. We thought in this year, I was kind of surprised that, and listen, they needed to go out there and get all the defensive players they got. But I was a little surprised that they didn't go out there and get another tackle in the draft, but they didn't. And you can't look at. He has to be honest with John Gruden has to be honest with his offensive line coach. Listen, you're great. I understand that he's your pet project, but I can't call my whole playbook with Brandon Park on the field. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, it's an obvious run. It's not. You can't just go out there and if you're down by 10 in the fourth quarter, just feel like you can pass all the time with Brandon Parker on the field, either taking Colton Miller's spot or taking Alex Leatherwood's spot. I don't know what they're looking at there.
Yeah, it's tough because Brandon Parker at left tackle looks like he's okay. I think he could hold up enough for a couple of weeks if he had to play left tackle. My concerns are at right tackle. If he has to go in to play right tackle, I think it changes the whole dynamic of the line. He just doesn't look comfortable there even. And this is year 4. I want to say he's a free agent after this year too. So you're going to have to decide, does he want to go try to get a starting job somewhere else, or is you're going to resign it as a backup for the Raiders? Because there is no path for him to start with Leatherwood and Miller on the roster. Part of me is like, hey, just put if Miller goes down, put Leatherwood at left tackle. But then I still have a ton of concerns about Parker at right tackle, and then moving a rookie. I'd say just leave Leatherwood there for the rest of the season. But the Raiders need to go out and find another tackle that can play right tackle, because I don't want to put Parker over there either. So Andre Smith just got released. I know he's 34. I probably wouldn't go down that road. He doesn't really fit the zone scheme they want to run. But if they can they need to find a zone guy maybe that they liked in the draft over the last couple of years, and bring a guy in that gets waived. They don't necessarily need a 33, 34-year-old veteran, but just, another body, because I don't know if you saw Mama May. He's a guard. I didn't realize he was 35 years old.
Which one?
But Patrick Omamame.
He's 35?
He's 35. Yeah, he's old. And then Jones Smith, as much as Mayak talked about in the offseason, he's been downright dreadful. Just completely whiffing on blocks and not understanding where his assignment is. And
he's been bad.
They did get Devery Henderson back. It was so bad they went and signed a tackle they cut 2 weeks ago. Just to have another tackle available for this game against the 49ers. But Nathan Peterman's going to be running for his life again, because I don't see any way that Derek Carr takes a snap in that game, because that means you'd have to put the starting offensive line out there. And I don't think, looking at the depth they have, Gruden can't risk one of those guys getting hurt. I'd be surprised if we saw Leatherwood, honestly, in this upcoming game.
For the 49ers have already said Kyle Shanahan's already said that the starters are gonna go full bore in this game. And I would, if I'm John Gruden, don't take the bait. I mean, just worry about your team. If they go out there and smash a bunch of guys who are not gonna make your team 35-0, and they makes them feel good that Trey Lance, it's how people backtracking a little bit on the Trey Lance thing, right? A little bit. Like, what I'm saying? Like the big Niners shows are backing up a little bit on that. We'll say that for the NFL show next week. But as far as that goes, I mean, I don't fall for it. Just put out the guys out there, and then just take it and just take the loss, take the L. Just get healthy, get out of that game. I want to see Gillespie out there. I don't want to see nobody. I don't want to see anybody who in this draft class. I hate to give people a sabbatical, but you have to do it here, because you cannot afford. They have nice depth at certain positions, but tackle ain't one of them. And I mean, I could say I hate to say this, but what if Parker got hurt? I mean, that might be that would be really hard to deal with. So, I mean, you'd be moving, Denzel Good to right. I mean, you don't want to do all that. You want to keep the guards where the guards are, and keep the tackles where the tackles should be. But yeah, I don't see anybody playing this week.
No, I think we're going to see a bunch of guys that are headed to the practice squad, and a bunch of guys are going to get cut. I think we'll see less than we saw in the first 2 weeks, and that's a smart route to go. This team needs to get ready to play Baltimore. This game against the 49ers means nothing.
It means nothing. Don't fall for the Battle of the Bay. The Battle of the Bay was last weekend when the Giants beat the A's 2 out of 3. Yeah, if you know what I mean. So players I like in this game. And Willie Snead's going to make this team because you haven't seen him all preseason, so he's making this team. I like Turner a lot. I really do. I think he has a nice build. He gets open. They had the play at the goal line, I'm sure you saw, where they end up giving it to, I think they end up giving it to Edmonds. If he just holds that ball, it's a wide open touchdown for Turner. That could be some foreshadowing as well. The Raiders should probably use some plays like that in the red zone to kind of mix it up a little bit. I really like him. Obviously, the man behind you has been fantastic. I wonder if he's going to stay to 39 all year. We'll see if he stays with that number. As far as corners go, but just the play he made on the makeup speed on the interception was incredible. I mean, I just thought that he just the recognition of hey, forget the guy in the flat. That ball's going deep. He turned on the Jets, Ryan, and just turned it on.
No, that guy that running away from him was Tutu Atwell, who runs like a 4.340.
Yes.
But
Right.
that was interesting because he was lined up at outside corner, which he hasn't played at all in camp. He's basically just learning the slot. So they threw him out there. There was some injuries to Nixon, some of the other corners, and he had to go to the outside. And he's reading. He's lined up on the one receiver. He's reading two verticals. So when two goes vertical, the inside receiver, he's got to run with them. That's not Gillespie's guy. So he's a little late in reading that, which is fine because he hasn't played that position in this defense at all. But just the pure athletic ability and then to high point the football. When's the last time you saw a cornerback for the Raiders actually high point a football? I don't know. I'm used to guys like Stanford Route with no ball skills.
What's Stanford Route? I love it.
James Trapp.
James. You know was a good corner who used to get a lot of interceptions and then he just mysteriously went away was Johnny Harris. You remember Johnny Harris?
Yeah.
He used to get a lot of interceptions. He's like Johnny Harris. But I mean, just turning the ball over, I mean, just being able to get a couple a game, it's just like I mean, they need this so badly to be able to turn people over. It's going to be huge for them if they can be if the Raiders are able to do that. I thought he played well. I think I haven't heard Moreg's. Somebody asked me the other day, hey, I haven't heard Trayvon Moreg's game, and I haven't heard his name in the game a lot, and I'm like, you know why? Because a lot like a goalkeeper in soccer, when you don't hear his name, that's probably a good thing, right? Like that means there's nobody over the top behind him. There's nobody. He's not playing the Reggie Nelson defense. He's actually playing real. He's actually playing a real defense back there. So that's a good thing. You don't know his name. Trust me, he's back there, and he's doing a pretty good job as well. I did hear one thing. What makes me feel like this is a good opportunity for the Raiders here is I listened to her interview. I forgot a young lady's name, but she has been a Raider report. She's a Rams reporter. And she was talking about the energy, the enthusiasm, the way the Raiders really performed during the week. And she said she has not seen that from them in absolutely forever. Like, because the Raiders and Rams have been playing preseason for a long time. And just seeing like just the coordination, like the communication they had on the field. Like, yeah, they got beaten sometimes. And those practices are just like, hey, I'm going to run this, we're going to run that back and forth. But hearing people outside of the Raiders say that, outside the silver and black bubble, if you will, I think that's kind of says something about what Gus Bradley and his defensive staff are doing with this defensive unit.
No, definitely. And I believe it's Jordan Rodriguez is her name with the Athletic. I think that's who you're referring to.
I think so, yeah.
Trayvon Morgan, this defense is playing the post safety. So if guys aren't throwing the ball deep down the middle, there's a reason. It's because they're covered, which is a good thing, that they're not running wide open. You haven't really seen teams test the Raiders down the field in either one of the preseason games. Now, granted, they're not facing Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford. They're facing Bryce Perkins and Magoo or Magoo and Geno Smith, but the defense is forcing the ball underneath, which is something Raiders defenses haven't done in a long time. Like, I used to be scared on 3rd and 15. I might not have to take heart medication this year on 3rd down, 3rd and 10 plus. So hopefully they can just get the ball underneath and they're not missing tackles. They're rallying. They're getting guys on the ground. Nate Hobbs is really impressive in the secondary in this game. He stood out to me as far as the secondary.
I do like
Abrams
the tackling
for a big year too.
The tackling of the open field tackling of Nixon and Amik Robinson has been something I did want to note, because I mean they're already really short guys, they're low to the ground anyway, but they're finishing these tackles, which is like, I understand that Darrell Henderson's not playing. I understand that the Seattle's number 1 running back isn't playing, but to still make those plays, I mean, it's still a good thing. And I think Amik every week it looks like he's getting a little bit more better, getting a little bit better and more acclimated to this team. Javon White, I just felt awful. I don't know. I mean, that made me sick as far as that goes, because especially on the play up the left side, just like the not panicking Like, the DJ Hayden used to be right there with the guy and just at the last second panic and just grab him for pass interference. He just simply just he saw the receiver going like this. He put his hand up to block it away. Boom. And it was perfect. I mean, it was perfect to see him be able to former safety at UNLV, right? Play all over the place. Ryan, I mean, he's the guy who they're gonna miss because I thought he was developing fine in the system. He could really run too.
Yeah, I think that he was going to be the backup nickel linebacker behind Morrow and Littleton. If anything happened to one of those two guys, I think Javin White. One, I think he was going to make this team.
Yeah.
And then I think that he was clearly going to get some playing time in the nickel. And it's, just seeing a number 53 run down the field and cover, I had some Thomas Howard flashbacks trying to watch that. Just, a linebacker, then get down the field. But no, it's unfortunate that it happened. It looked like it kind of just got rolled up on there. And his knee, it was bad. All indications are he's probably going to tear his ACL. Hopefully that's the only damage, that there's not any nerve damage or MCL or anything like that. He's probably headed to IR. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully, it's a sprain and he's back in 4 to 5 weeks, but he had an impressive preseason, just his ability to cover and to change a direction for a guy that size, the length, like
the hips.
The Raiders haven't had a guy like that. I mean, he's a perfect linebacker for today's game. Yeah. Is he great in the box, stopping the run? No, but he doesn't need to be. That wasn't going to be his role on this team. But the Raiders are clearly going to have to fill that spot, and let's hope that Divine Diablo makes his Raiders debut this week against the 49ers and shows some of those same abilities, because he might step into a role to play too as well.
Yeah, he should definitely play. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about – we're going to go back and forth between my 53 and Ryan's 53. This is the final 53-man roster for the Raiders. I will say that it should be fun. I can't wait to go through it. We'll be right back after this. All right, back on the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm feeling good today. I got representing 34. The king of Tecmo Bowl, if you will. Giants. My Giants put the extra point on the 8-0 win over the Mets. So feeling good. The Mets are just horrible. All right, so we're gonna go. Let's go. Ryan goes first with this whole. Let's see what we got here. 53-man joint. Let's see what's going on. This one here.
Starting with the offensive line.
Starting with the offensive. No, I think offensive line should be up there now, right? Offensive line, you seen it?
I see the offensive line, and then it looks like quarterback, fullback, and running back, but it's much smaller.
That's smaller. Okay.
I see two slides.
Two slides. Okay, we'll go with let's see if I can go back to that one. So I can go. All right. Let me see if I can get out of that one. I can't get out of the small one. We'll just roll without it then. If you want to go and just go through your offensive line real quick and what spot you want to go first with?
We'll start with the offensive line. To me, I think the Raiders are going to carry 9 linemen. Clearly, the centers are set. I think that Andre James is the starter, and then Nick Martin's going to slide in as the backup. And I think they're going to carry 3 guards. I wanted to go 4. I just didn't see a 4th guy on this roster that I deemed worthy of making the 53-man at the expense of another player. So I went Incognito, Good, and Simpson. Pretty self-explanatory. I do want to take 4 tackles into the regular season. Miller, Leatherwood, Parker is going to be on this team, and I think there is a 4th tackle. He's not on the roster now, but the Raiders will go find one, either as a veteran free agent or pick a guy up off a waiver. So for me, those are the 9. I was debating to go with 10, keeping another interior guy, but I think Martin's ability to play guard is good enough. He's going to be active on game day, so he can fill in there too. So Incognito's played some center too, so there is some versatility in those inside 5 guys the Raiders are going to keep on the roster. So I'm going to go 9 and then probably load up on the practice squad with another tackle and some guards.
All right. So the QBs and running backs.
QBs, I'm going to keep all 3: Carr, Mariota, Peterman. Just, Mariota in the joint practice with the Rams got a lot of snaps. I don't think they're going to move away from him. Peterman, I debated not keeping him on this roster, but I think having a third quarterback that understands the system, especially in the COVID era with everything going on. And I think he's earned it with his play in the preseason to keep his third. Fullback and goal, clearly you're going to keep one. Running back, to me, I'm going to go Jacobs, Drake, and Regas with – I think Jalen Richard's on the initial 53, and then the Raiders will move him to IR because in order to come back off of IR, they have to be on the initial 53-man roster. Regas, in my mind, will get waived and then brought back once Richard goes to IR, and kind of a wink nod when they release him. They'll say, hey, we're going to release you, but this is what we're planning on doing. Planning on moving Richard to IR and bring you back so he doesn't leave the building or even leave town. Because I'm sure his agent's going to get some calls when teams see him on the release list. But that's where I'm going to go as far as running backs and quarterbacks.
Cool. And the wideouts and tight ends?
Wideouts and tight ends, pretty self-explanatory. 6 wideouts, I think they're set in stone in my opinion. It's Ruggs, Edwards, Renfro, Brown, Jones, and Snead. Snead's kind of interesting. He could be a trade target for other teams, but I just think Gruden wants that veteran presence that can play the slot. That can run block and kind of just grind it out. He was on special teams during the Rams practice. He was the up back on some of the kick return teams. So I think they're trying to find a way to get him on the field if need be. Tight ends, I'm going to carry 3, Waller, Moreau, and Carrier. I think those are self-explanatory. Then one or two of the other guys, the blocking guys, Bowers or Ellis could end up on the practice squad because Gruden's going to want that blocking tight end. Going into the season with just Morrow as your blocking tight end, he's going to want to have a guy that he can line up as a blocker. So that leaves me with 25 guys on offense. We're going to roll to the defensive side. Again, the defensive ends, I think, pretty straightforward. Ngakoue, Crosby, Farrell, Nassib, Kuntz, those are the 5. Defensive tackle, I think they're going to carry 5. So they have a total of 10 defensive linemen. I see it as Hankins, McCoy, Solomon Thomas, who can play inside or outside, Jefferson and Phylon. Those are pretty easy. The talk of depth on this team, we hear it. It wasn't hard for me to get down to, 51, 52 guys. I thought once I got to 58, it would be difficult. I didn't find it that difficult. Linebacker, I think they're going to carry 5. Again, that's with the disclaimer that Javin White, in my opinion, is going to be headed to IR here pretty quickly before the initial cuts or as part of the initial cut. So he won't be able to return during the regular season because I believe he's going to need knee surgery. Hopefully I'm wrong. I believe the linebackers will be Littleton, Kwiatkowski, Hughes, Diablo. And I think Morrow will be on the 53 and then go to IR. I think he's out multiple weeks, so they can bring him back in like week 3 or 4. So give him, 4 or 5 weeks to get healthy, and then the Raiders will go out and sign a free agent or claim a guy off of waivers for depth. Hopefully that's KJ Wright. I think he would complete this group of 5. If not, it's going to be a guy that can play in the nickel and run around and has some familiarity with the system because they may need to play quickly.
Yeah. And DBs and special teams.
DBs, as far as the safeties, I'm going to carry 4, Morag and Joseph at free safety, Abram and Gillespie at strong safety. It's pretty young with 2 rookies, and then Abram, but I needed that veteran, so I think Carl Joseph is going to get the nod here. He was pretty active in the scrimmages with the Rams, didn't play in the game on Saturday, but did get plenty of time there. So Dallin Levitt, I believe, is going to get cut. Roderick Teamer, I believe, is going to get cut. Those guys had some special teams value, but at the end of the day, I think the veteran in the back end and Joseph, they'd rather have that. DBs, I'm going to carry 6 corners. I was debating 5 or 6. I'm going Mullen, Hayward as your starters, Hobbs, Arnett. Nixon, for me, is a no-brainer because of his ability to play special teams, and he's going to play on all of the teams. And I'm going to keep Robertson. I think he's shown enough the last 2 weeks to where the Raiders can keep developing him in the slot. He can play outside if you need to and just keep developing him as a player. I think it's too early to give up on him. He showed a little bit of promise in the last 2 games, which isn't good news. Nevin Lawson, I think, could be in trouble when he comes back from his suspension. I think Isaiah Johnson's in trouble a little bit here unless he shows out in the next week and a half. But that's where we're going to go. There's 25 offense, 25 defense. I don't think we need to go over the punter, kicker, and long snapper. Those are pretty self-explanatory. But
Right
that would
on.
be the 53 guys. So it's really 51. And I believe the Raiders will look for depth at offensive tackle and linebacker to complete that to get to 53.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. I'm gonna head on. I'm head on for mine right now. And that will let me just double check something real quick. All right. So offensive line, we got Miller, we got Miller, we got Leatherwood, got Parker, unfortunately, and hopefully somebody drops. Somebody drops. Hopefully you're just hoping that somebody will drop in this situation, so you can be in a situation where you pick up a guy who can maybe fit this system and help the Raiders if need be, if Parker or Leatherwood went down. Richie is, Richie is Richie. I mean, they're trying to amp him up or rev him up to get ready to play in this game. I mean, if he didn't finish the Raven game, would that surprise you? He's always hurt. So we can't really count on him there. But they do have some versatility with Good. Simpson is just a beast in the run game. And Martin can move over, like you said. And we got Andre James at center this year as well. 50, I think it's 58 rating on Madden. You got to work on that.
59. Yeah, I'm playing it right now. So we're the same on the offensive line. Same.
So,
we're going to carry 9.
All offensive line will play the same. So I think this is where we differ just a little bit because I am not. I'm done. I'm done with the Mariota thing. I think Mariota. If this was a situation where we had a head coach who did some different kind of things in the red zone, he's still looking for Zach Crockett. Like he's trying to he wants to run the football down there. He's not going to do something creative. He's not going to do anything like they don't even. We spoke about it. We spoke about this last week on our show. The Raiders don't even throw the ball into the end zone sometimes. A lot of times when they're down there, which is like really kind of weird. It's like a weird thing like that. That has to be kind of taught into them. So I think Peterman can do some of the things that Mariota does. Let's be honest, Raider Nation. If the Raiders lose Carr, this season's done anyway. So it doesn't matter if Mariota plays in my mind or Peterman. Doesn't really matter. The Golden Child at fullback, we know about him. I'm excited about the whole. I don't know what nickname we can come up with for. I know they got Regis from Regis in Vegas, and Jacobs and Drake. I love the backfield. I really do. I know people are going to scoff at how much money Drake has made, but I like it. I like him a lot on this offense. I think they really, especially when it gives them versatility where if the wide receivers can't get open, they can roll with Drake and get some linebackers along with with Jacobs' ability to catch the ball, and Regis looks pretty good as well. Let's see as far as the wide receivers go. You got Ruggs, obviously. You got Edwards. They're not going anywhere. You got Renfro. You got Brown. You got Jones. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I don't have.
Turner.
I like youth, and I feel like with the the whole veteran thing, with Snead. I mean, Renfro is as veteran as you need. John Brown I know he plays more outside than inside, but he's a veteran in this game. Zay Jones has really proven to be a worthy guy for a roster spot on this team, even though amazingly he gets away with not playing any special teams. And at the very least, let's see what Turner can do as a punt returner. If you can switch out him and Renfro for that role as well. But I'd rather roll with Turner than roll with Snead. And that's just
Do you think someone claims Turner when he gets released, or do you think he could easily just go to the practice squad and they can elevate him on weeks they need him? Because that's the question.
Yeah. I don't know. There's some teams out there now. I thought a team like the Saints were like desperate, but then Callaway kind of, he'll be like the first round pick now for in fantasy drafts. So I don't know as far as what's gonna go. I don't know if Turner is gonna. I just see a a built version of like a future, like developing down the road, like 2, 3 years from now, he's gonna just like kill people in the slot. I really, and be a guy who just does a lot of nice things in the return game as well. Waller, we know about Waller. The only jersey I would probably ever, even consider getting would be Waller and Moreau. I love both of those dudes. I think Moreau, I'm sure he took notes from everything he learned from the other tight end, Witten last year. We don't need to go through that again. But I know that was a wasted season for him. But yeah, he definitely is gonna. I think him in the end zone, two tight ends. Let's see it because both of those guys can catch the football, and be able to do that. Let's see here we got Ngakoue, we got Ngakoue, Crosby, Nasmith, and I really wanted to cut Carl, I really did, but I feel like they're not going to do it. So I feel like they kind of need that extra body to fill in for Ngakoue or Crosby if they ever got hurt. Then I have. And you got Kuntz, obviously, for part of the rookie class. Hankins, McCoy, Thomas, Jefferson, Phylon has been fantastic so far. So let's see here. We got Littleton, Bukowski, Muse. I put a question mark next to Wright because I want KJ Wright on this team. So I'm hoping that they make that they get that done. And then the last part of it, kind of same as you. I thought Amik, who when you watch his tape in college, you just feel like hopefully he can get that. He can get things done for the Raiders here. Anxious to see Mullen and Hayward play together. You got Hobbs, you got Arnett. Hopefully he can make these open field tackles. Nixon and listen, I mean, for Arnett, these open field tackles got to be made because if they're not, the two guys behind them have been doing it. Like they really have been doing a good job of tackling in the open field and making plays. So that's mine. That's yours. I think that you're here's the thing with John that drives me crazy is it's all about games played and being available. Unless you're one of his favorites, then that doesn't matter. Right? Because Mariota has not been available. If you would have told me that this preseason would have taken place and Mariota wasn't going to take a snap, like I thought this was the perfect opportunity to see Mariota and Peterman not battle it out, but just just kind of switch back and forth between, hey, we're going to start, hey, you 1 week, so the other guy next week. We only got 3 games, maybe third week or our first half of the second game, you give Carr a quarter. They decide to give him nothing, which is fine with me either way. You don't want to get injury. It's a brutal sport. You don't want to get hurt. And I just feel like everybody wants a running back until he can't. Everybody wants a running quarterback until he can't walk anymore. And I think that's the problem with Mariota. Did he look? Did he look good against the Rams? He was inaccurate as always, right?
Yeah, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I think he could have played in this game. Clearly, John held him out because he played on Wednesday and Thursday in the practices. Okay. He moved around pretty well. The accuracy issue, he threw a couple of interceptions, but I think Gruden's all in on this season and needs to win, and he does not want to get Mariota hurt. You saw the offensive line and how bad those guys were last week, and he just said, "Hey, Peterman, I've kept you around for 3 years. You've made $3, $4, $5 million. You're going to go get beat up for 3 weeks in the preseason, earn that paycheck because I'm not getting one of these other 2 quarterbacks hurt." So I think he's going to be on the team. It was interesting that you put free agent down and you didn't fill that roster spot at another position because I think the only place we really differed was Mariota and then Snead or Turner. So I think they did way too much recruiting to get him to come back, to get him to reduce his salary. They got him under contract for like $3.5 million. I don't think he's going anywhere. I could be wrong if a team comes in and offers something, but it's hard to offer up collateral or assets for a quarterback who hasn't taken a snap. So, and I expect to not see him again this week. And I think you're going to see Nathan Peterman play the whole game here against the 49ers. Hopefully that means there's some design stuff that he's keeping under wraps for Mariota. once the season starts in the red zone, which it sounds like from the reporters they've been working on. But we know John, like he can work on it all he wants in practice. Is he actually going to call it in games in a live situation and take Derek Carr off the field? I don't know if he's actually ever going to do that. So,
and to me, it's like,
it'll be interesting.
And the thing about it is, like, the way I look at it is, you know, it's all about winning. So just go ahead and do it. Like it just go ahead and do it. Like, I mean, Drew Brees like came off the field, and Taysom Hill is not. I mean, like, you know, Taysom Hill and you know did his thing, like, you know, and he was okay with it. Like, I know he was older and the arm, but you have to have that kind of like that trust that it's not gonna, you know, bother. I mean, at this point, like, we're not worried about bothering Derek. We're about winning games. Like, you know, I mean, and for me, is if we get in the end zone, we get in the end zone. To me, the way I look at it is, you're in the. So my favorite, and I'm going on a rant here, but so I'm trying to bring it back home. So one of my favorite play callers the Raiders ever had was Hugh Jackson. And then one of the reasons why, because number one, if you look at the Hugh Jackson years, the Raiders scored a boatload of touchdowns. I mean, they really did. I mean, they scored a lot of touchdowns. And they had
two trick plays every week.
Yeah, seriously. Kevin Boss up the sideline. But so I'm sitting here and I'm like, and he talked about the red zone. And he talked about how much he hated the red zone. So what he used to always do was, as soon as he got to the 25-yard line, he would attack the red zone, because he just knew how closer he got, the harder it was to score. It's like, you know, it's like John wants to come down, get 3, get 4, get 6, get 4. I mean, it's kind of like inches way there. It's all about just scoring when you get down there. So for me, I would like to see them, like, when you get into that, you know, that 30-yard, 40-yard. I mean, that the signature Derek Carr pass. Do you remember that? I think it was Seth Roberts in Denver. That absolute, you know, like it was only like a 15-yard pass, touchdown pass. But it's like that thing. That's his signature, like his zip pass. Like that pass right there doesn't need a big window for that pass. Like, those are kind of plays you want to get. You know, you want to score from outside the 20-yard line, so you're not like sitting there like, you know, running all these plays to get a holding call, to get something to go wrong there. Somebody misses a block. The running back, as great as Jacobs is, you know, reading the wrong hole and not scoring on some of these and some of these guys. I don't want to see Carlson on the field as much as we did last year. So I mean, if it means he's gonna play Mariota and actually do it, then go ahead. If not, then I don't know what they're doing with Mariota there.
Yeah, I think he's going to play at some point this year. And if Carr does go down, the team is in trouble. But Mariota could at least hopefully keep him afloat enough where he's won playoff games. He's been a starter. And it's like, he's not a practice guy. He's never been a practice guy, but he's always been a gamer. When the game starts, I'd be scared to death to run Nate Peterman out there in any situation against
I get it.
live bullets against number one defenses. No, thank you. Is it a third emergency?
You don't want to see him.
Something happened.
You don't want to see him against Calais Campbell.
I have no interest in seeing him against anybody this year. But he brought up Daniel Carlson, so I was looking through the salary cap. I'm like, where can the Raiders get some money? You know what Daniel Carlson's making this year?
I think it's he's making 3.5, right?
Just under $3.4 million.
Yeah.
I like Daniel Carlson. I like KJ Wright too. But Daniel Carlson's a guy, if the Raiders really believe in him, give him a 3-year deal, spread out that money, get that cap number down, and give that money to KJ Wright, because this team needs another defensive playmaker on the second level. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen here quickly. I think it would happen before the 49ers game. That would give him time to get acclimated, get his hands on the playbook, and hit the ground running. Once the Raiders return to Vegas after they play in Santa Clara, I think that game is on Sunday at 1:00. It's not on Saturday,
which is annoying.
I want play it, get it over with. Let's move on to the regular season.
We'll put that thing on Friday night or Thursday night and give them as much possible rest as humanly possible. Like, you know, I mean, that's just that and when I saw when that game was, that really annoyed me.
I was looking
As
forward
far as that
today. I'm
goes.
like, okay, is it Friday? Is it Saturday? I'm like, Sunday at 1:00. What are we doing?
Yes.
I believe it is on NFL Network though, so that's a bonus. So hopefully we should be able to watch it.
But is it
Um,
actually on NFL Network? Because they kept on switching games, and I was like, dude, like, I mean, so when I finally got home and I found it on the channel you talked about, like that, I was like, okay, fine, it's there. Like, it was annoying. I was trying to sit there and watch the game, and it was like they kept on switching to like other games, and like my TV guides on the bottom it says Las Vegas Raiders
yeah.
at the Rams. So that's what it should be. As far as the list of guys who flat out just should not be playing in this game, you know, we haven't seen any of the starting wide receivers there. Can you Nick? You think you could look at? I mean, I know we this is not the NFL show; it's a Raiders show. Like, are there other teams who have this many wide receivers who don't play special teams?
I don't think so.
I mean, all six.
I
I think you're 50. I think you're 50. I think you're 53 is going to make is going to be the 53. As far as wide receivers go, right? That's the class of wide receivers. I mean, like so, like none of those guys. You have six wideouts and none of them play specials.
so here's another tidbit from the practices.
Yeah.
Jones was also seen on the kick return with Snead. Um,
Okay.
and Snead was on some of the punt coverage teams briefly. So I think they're trying to figure out how they can keep these guys on the roster and where they're going to play. I just don't.
How to
I don't think
justify
they're.
it? How to justify it?
You can put him as the up back. I think Willie Snead's more than willing to be a blocker on kick return. I'm not sure Zay Jones has the right build to do that or the physicality to go run into guys flying down the field. I think Willie Snead will be fine there. Renfro and Ruggs are returners. They're not going to be on coverage units. Clearly, you're not going to risk Edwards or Brown running down the field doing that stuff. So they're going to find a way for Willie Snead to get involved in special teams. One of these guys is probably going to be inactive on game days too, because I don't think you're going to walk into any of these weeks with 6 active wide receivers. So that's the other flip of the coin.
You can't.
It's going to be every week. It's going to be Jones or Snead. One of the two guys is going to be inactive.
And you can't.
And
you can't.
I could really see Gruden carrying a 4th tight end as much as I don't want to do it on this roster because, like I said, Waller and Carrier aren't blockers. And then you have Moreau, who we want to get involved in the passing game, who can block, but they don't have a pure like blocking tight end. I could clearly see John Gruden keeping. I think Bowers is the bigger of the guys. He's close to 260. I would rather have those guys on the practice squad in the weeks I want them, call them up. But I could see John Gruden sneaking in a 4th tight end somewhere on this roster, but at the expense of who is my question.
And Bush was more of a pass catcher.
Yeah, and for me, it really came down to Robertson's kind of the guy, the last guy that I put on the roster. Like, do I want to walk away from a 4th-round pick in the second year to keep a 4th tight end? I don't. So I kept Robertson on the roster. Even if Robertson's inactive, just keep developing him. I think there's a good chance you could get Isaiah Johnson to the practice squad as well. Mm-hmm. If you cut him. He just hasn't played in the preseason. No one's seen him. They're going to get a little bit of a run this weekend. He's been inconsistent. There's been weeks where in his coverage was pretty bad when he had to play last year. So you got to start weighing which one of these guys can I get to the practice squad and which one of these guys are likely to get claimed. I think Robertson has a chance if you release him. Enough teams
he's getting claimed
up on it in the draft. Someone's claiming him. So
yeah, somebody's claiming him.
You're not getting him to the practice squad. So the Raiders are going to run out. They have 80 on the roster out of the 53. They're going to make the roster. I guess that 40 to 45 of them don't play a snap in this game. It's going to be like the high school days where you're going to have the 25 to 30 guys are going to play the entire game. The same starters and the same defenders are playing 60 minutes. So
listen, I don't
when they have to go up against the ones of the 49ers.
Dude. Yeah. So we're gonna have Jones Smith versus Bosa. That should be fun. I'm sure that would be.
Or D Ford or any one of those linemen, really.
What if D Ford actually plays? That'd be a miracle. In the game,
Harding Key. Arden Key is going to get 3 sacks against
Oh my
Winston.
God, he's gonna be dancing all over the place. Like, yeah, I can't. And the thing about it is, Raider Nation will actually care. They'll actually care about Arden Key doing this, and Mo Hurst would be rubbing his belly. He made the first cut, right, in San Francisco.
Yeah, Mo Hurst is hurt. I think he's out like a month, so he's not going to be playing in this game.
No, jeez, I'm sure.
Eddie Vanderdoes, the return of Eddie Vanderdoes. I think he's on the roster.
He's still on the roster. They cut Shilly Cow. They cut Shilly Calhoun.
Calhoun got released. Yeah. They're just running through all the Raiders rejects. So I'm sure Jihad Ward's going to be there soon. We'll see. I'm surprised Chris Cooper's not on the roster at some point.
Don't wear 70. Don't wear 75, please, ever again in your life. As far as that goes. So Marcel Aikman's
Gerald McCoy is going to be wearing 93 here pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, so is that number he wants? Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, Vickers not making this roster.
Vickers not making this roster. No. I do like the development, and I think they're going to end up going on different teams. I mean, who knows? I mean, or they'll be back in the practice squad. But Marcel Aikman, I think Keelan Doss has some nice plays as well. So I did want to give them some props for that because, you talk about player development. If they had to play on a Sunday, they would be able to come and make some plays. They're not Randy Moss or a Jake Reed or anything like that. And it's funny because I'm getting old because Jake Reed's son plays for the Rams. When he said that, I was like, wow, we're getting old. But so they have the belt, those guys. So I do respect them for that. As far as practice squad, Morrissey's probably going to be on there. Bowers. You cannot do that. Like that's gonna drive me crazy if they keep 4 tight ends here. And
I hope they don't, but I could see it.
Yeah, it's all about his. It's all about his offense. All about his offense. So the drama with the Raiders today was JT the Brick and who else now? Ted Wynn.
Ted Wynn from The Athletic.
Who if you watch Ted Wynn through the years, being just going through film, and now his role with the Athletic is pretty respected.
He's good. He knows what he's talking about. He can break down film, and he knows schemes. He illustrates it pretty easily, so people can digest it and doesn't make it too complicated. It was just interesting to see those two get into it because I don't. If JT the Brick responded to something I tweeted, I'd probably just drop it. I don't think I'd come back at him, but. No, it was just interesting. I caught a glimpse of that. And then as far as practice squad, as you mentioned, I think I tweeted something out, but I clearly think Turner and Stoner are headed that way. Morrissey, Ellis and Bushman at tight end. I think Emmons, I really liked it. I like Emmons. Emmons is a guy that I think might get claimed by another team. He's shown a lot of pure running skills. I don't know if he's going to hold up in pass protection, but I like him as a pure runner. I think Vickers can get onto the practice squad along with Dickerson. I like Richardson. He showed some stuff at linebacker. I think he's headed that way as well. But two of those spots, I think they're going to have to carry a kicker and a punter just for COVID reasons in case something happened to AJ Cole or Carlson. You want to have someone that's been around the team that's been kicking, that's been active. I think there's going to be a kicker and a punter on that practice squad.
Do we know that? I keep almost at the Hawks. The Falcons are 100% vaccinated. I know the Raiders are one of the highest teams as far as that goes. I know like Jalen Richard is not. But are they? Is the? I can put it this way: are they in the kicking game? Do we know if they're vaccinated? Because that could be a huge thing on a Sunday. Because they're affecting.
I'm pretty sure Gruden said there was 4 or 5.
Okay,
before camp. Jalen Richard's 1, Dallin Levitt's 2. So there's 2 or 3 guys on the rest of the roster. Who knows if they were part of the initial cuts from 90 down to 80? But I fully expect by the end of cuts, the Raiders will have 1 or 0 players that are unvaccinated on the roster. I don't think Gruden wants to deal with that unless it's a star player that we know nothing about, which at this point, I don't think it is.
I don't think it is.
We probably would have heard it.
Yeah.
So You don't want to get stuck in a situation like the Patriots with Cam Newton. He goes to get offside. He leaves the facility to go to a doctor's visit or something, and now he's unvaccinated. He can't come back for 5 days. You don't want to deal with that. No. Cole Beasley, what's going on in Buffalo? Unvaccinated.
Dude, he has
close contact. He's out 5 days.
So is he?
What if that happened in the regular season?
Oh my god! And like to me, I mean, I don't know if Emmanuel Sanders for the Bills. I don't know if Emmanuel Sanders is vaccinated, but like if he is, I'm like, damn. Do we really? I mean, do we really risk that? I mean, because obviously, like he's on the field with players. He's also, you know, do they even meet in a wide receiver room anymore? Like, or is it like, you know, or are the vaccination players together and then the rest is Zoom for him at home? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I would assume they'd have to social distance and wear masks inside the building. So I'm assuming they're 6 feet away from everyone else. I think they're in the same room, but they're not sitting next to each other.
Yeah, because it just takes one. I mean, it just takes one person and to be close contact, and then that's your whole position group.
We saw that last year.
You saw last year with the Raiders. So as far as that goes, any other news and notes with the silver and black here? And I know they're cutting down. So I mean, you might just cut it down now. When we're waiting for. I forgot they got to play a game this week, so that's why they can't cut it down now. But
no, I'm actually a big fan of keeping it at 80 and not cutting down further because, like I mentioned, we're at a point now where we don't want these guys to play. We're this close. The last thing we need is a major injury to a guy that's going to, even if it's a role player, a guy that has a role in this team, because you want to walk in Allegiant Stadium September 13th with as many healthy guys as you can. Yeah. I'm all for going to 2 preseason games. Obviously, these teams don't care. I think there's how many starting quarterbacks haven't even played a snap? It's like 10 or 12. It's over a third of the league that they haven't even played. So why are we playing 3 preseason games?
And I also think, and the one thing I was thinking about this the other day, because the stadiums need to be full. But if you told me people get home from work and it's 8:00 and I can watch Rams Raiders practice, people are going to do that.
So here's what the NFL needs to do. They need to film these joint practices and air that on NFL Network, and the ratings are going to be through the roof. Because what I saw on Wednesday and Thursday was way better than anything we saw on Saturday when we turned the TV on. So, imagine the ratings they could get for that.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to tweet something and then have one of the reporters get at you and say, "Are you there? Are you watching?"
Yes, I am.
And Ryan could have been like, "Yes, I am." Shout out to Phil Jones on that one.
I'll wave at you, Vinny.
That would be funny. That would be really funny. All right, man. Next week, it will be September, right?
We will. But next week, when's cutdown day? I think it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think it's the 31st. Hopefully the Raiders don't wait till 3 hours after the deadline to release their cuts and try to be the last team like they normally do. The game's Sunday. Yeah, we probably won't we'll hear a couple of these guys on Monday, but we probably won't get the gist of it till, I think the deadline is 1:00 Pacific on Tuesday. So knowing the Raiders, we'll hear about 4:00 Pacific on Tuesday, who the cuts are.
Should be
over under. They're one of the last 3 teams to announce it. I'd probably take that bet in Vegas that they'll be one of the final 3.
Is there a reason for that? Do they save money doing that?
They don't save anything other than being able to see who everyone else released. But once you submit it to the league office, it can't change. So just release it and get it out there. But for some reason, they don't want to do that.
I mean, it's good. I just can't. I mean, we have to really. Next week could be fun. I think next week what we should do is let's try to break down the Raiders offense against this Raven defense. We can actually do something, that's I mean, we'll do that. We'll do. Let me write that down because I will forget everything. Because I have a 1-year-old. The Ravens defense versus the Raiders offense, and Derek has played. I think he's Have they not played since they've not played since the 3 Crabtree touchdown game? They've
No,
not,
I think he's only played him twice, and I want to say twice in his career.
and they beat them both.
Two that I remember. They beat him
Wait.
33-30 at the Coliseum, late touchdown to Seth Roberts, and then the Crabtree game.
Seth Roberts.
Is there a way to look that up?
I don't think I remember. I mean, I think I think we're both Derek Carr aficionados. We've seen every single throw he's ever made. I'm pretty sure they only played. I'm pretty positive they only played. If you go to the game, they played 3 times. They lost to 1.
He's 2-1 in his career against the Ravens.
When they lose to the Ravens, I can't remember that.
I'm on the website here. It doesn't show it. It says he's 2-1.
Game log. When did they lose to the Ravens? Must have been.
That's a great question.
When did they lose to the Ravens? I don't remember that game at all. And I remember a whole lot of losing.
The Crabtree game, they won 28-27.
Yeah, I was in the end zone for that one. I saw every single one of them.
They lost 34-17 at Baltimore in 2018. Doug Martin scored in that game.
Oh.
Lamar Jackson scored in that game. Terrell Suggs had a fumble return.
No, I remember.
Not a good game. The Raiders did not play well there.
I remember that.
It's 2-1.
2-1.
Not bad.
Yeah, against that team, that's pretty good. Last thing, Vic Tafur doesn't usually throw out BS, but what do you think about the and then we'll leave on this one, the Mac. The Raiders actually called and said, "Hey, do you want to give us Mac back?"
I don't mind the report. Like, I'm sure they called on a lot of pass rushers in the league.
Yeah, I think so too.
They didn't say what the compensation was, and I'm sure it never even got to that point. But I don't think the Raiders were in a position.
Yeah, that, and plus, if it's not Derek, then there is no compensation because they need a quarterback. So
they're not giving up 2 number 1s to get him back. It's more like, hey, you're in salary cap trouble. Any interest in moving him? No. Okay, have a nice day. I'm sure they called him Von Miller. I'm sure they called him Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa. You name any defensive end in the league, you got to make those calls, especially the teams tied up against the cap.
Yeah,
they're looking to get out of it, but I think it's a non-story. I just think it gets thrown out there this time of year. There's not a lot going on. Hey, here's a headline. We're going to get a bunch of clicks. Yeah. It's going to drive the fan base into a frenzy for 3 or 4 days.
We're so easy for that.
I think it's a good thing that, maybe Gruden put his ego aside and he said, hey, you know what? Maybe we did make a mistake. Let's see if we can get him back. But And that happened back in March or late February. To report it now, it's August 24th.
That's kind of that.
It doesn't hold any weight.
Yeah, that's definitely a click on. Because they know that. I mean, we're easy like that. You can say anything. How terrible.
I'm sure they called on. I'm sure they called on Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure they called on Deshaun Watson before everything went down. So it happens a lot more than people think in every major sport. Guys are getting called on because you just never know.
You never know. You never know what the conversation is going to be. Rate, review, and subscribe. And also like the videos. Got some good stuff coming up next week. I'm going to do a deep dive into that Raven defense. And if I can find some all 22, I guess you got to slide to get it. I don't know what's going on, but as far as that goes, but yeah,
I don't know how to get it. I'm trying.
We're trying to get it. Get some Rams. Get some Ravens and Raiders. Listen, don't worry about this weekend. I don't care if it's 55-0. Just don't worry about it because the whole thing is about being healthy going into this game. All right, Ryan, take care. Have a good day. Thank you for the work, and we will see you next week.
All right, until next week. Take care.
Yeah.